Here are a rapid fire, some tweets. Adam Rittenberg, who we had on, remember, at the end of last week, has done a great job covering this story. Well, Ben Crump, the attorney representing now 15, maybe more, former Northwestern athletes, they had a press conference today. Northwestern had their investigation. You can read along as we go. Crump saying that, why didn't any of these players say something? Some of them did try to say something, and they were retaliated against. Notes others were frightened to come forward. Attorney Steve Levin referenced Northwestern's own investigation. Northwestern has investigated itself, found that these acts have occurred, that they were widespread, and they were also long-standing. Former running back Warren Long, sexual violence and sexual assault was rampant. Former quarterback Lloyd Yates, we were physically and emotionally beaten down, and some players have contemplated suicide as a result. Says it was especially difficult for players of color, and then also mentioned the trauma of running. It's something where you say, that's not going to happen to me. You're going to fight back, and when it happens, it's uncontrollable. You're dominated by the culture. Now, these are guys who got in front of the press today, along with their attorneys, to put out their story, and that doesn't mean you have to believe in everything they've said, but those are the quotes, at least some of them. There were dozens of them, but from today.
Yeah, this is a really, if this is all true, and I have no reason to believe that you would have it out for Pat Fitzgerald so badly or Northwestern so badly that you would come together and conspire to make all this up. So whatever truth is in there, and I think you've got to really look at, what the university even found was going on and knows was going on. So this is really, really bad. It's going to sound worse and worse as more details come out. And it also falls in line with, when you ask why victims of sexual assault don't say something, it's really hard. And then when they do and they get shut down like they do, it gets worse and worse and worse for them. It is classic behavior of what happens when it's a very scary, awful thing that happens to you. It's almost as scary and awful to try to tell somebody about it, and then it gets even worse when you're not believed or you're not supported, and that's why these awful cycles continue of, it goes and goes and goes. People don't know the reporting because they're scared to do it. It's really bad. If you don't know the statistics on it, I suggest you read about it because it is a problem for humankind that we have not got a handle on yet. And I remember, I was sitting in the Sam. I didn't know any stuff like this, that things were this bad. I was sitting in the Sam Ukawachu trial, listening to the prosecuting attorney give, actual stats. And then they had a witness on the stand that said, this is how many people are. This is how many women are. This is how many men are. And I was like, are you serious? I thought in my mind it was one out of every 200 people, and it's one out of every 7 people has gone through this. And I know through sexual assault, right, some kind of trauma this way. And you all know 7 people. It may not be the 7 people sitting in the room, but everybody's, there's somebody that's been through this to one degree or another. And it's a really, really rampant problem that we have in the world. And it needs to be rooted out as best as it can, but these are things that are really tragic to hear from what's happened at Northwestern.
Yeah, there's already been a few layers peeled back. I think there's plenty more to come, the way it sounds like. More lawsuits yet to be filed. You've got to talk about how, there's not only the baseball program that's in the crosshairs along with football, obviously, but softball's in there now as well. They've already obviously made a couple of major coaching moves, and it just feels like we're at the tip of the iceberg. Maybe the worst is over in terms of what's released, you hope, but I don't think the news cycle's stopping anytime soon, unfortunately, for Northwestern folks. Now, if you're looking for a cleansing of, whatever, ill was going on there, then this is a great opportunity. But, yeah, I think there's still a lot of – the hard part for Northwestern is there's still a lot of that infighting going on, and you don't really know, what to believe. I think in some cases, and do you believe everything at face value, or do you treat everything at face value that's the hard part. I think for probably a lot of people who are sort of in the middle of, you do need to believe and support, but you also are we just burning it all down without asking any questions too? And that's the real dilemma, I think, for an organization, university, whoever, because that is going to split people. And I think you're seeing that in the responses, that there's very much a split in how all this is unfolding. And yeah, it's ugly. I hate it for those who were affected, hurt in any type of negative way. I hope they get their semblance of justice when all is said and done. And for anybody that's out there maybe embellishing, lying, adding fuel to the fire that doesn't need to be added, then, I hope they get their comeuppance as well. I just, in the end, hope that the truth comes out and Northwestern's better for it, but it's an ugly story, no doubt about it.
Sean D., could Northwestern face NCAA punishment if these allegations turn out to be true? The Baylor example is there. No matter what you thought about that, no matter what the truth was, no matter what they knew, no matter what Baylor admitted and or said that did not happen, the NCAA reprimanded them. The NCAA gave them some penalties, but not really a lot because most of them had already been done, just like the Tennessee thing, but that was more recruiting, illegal recruiting. But they cannot punish something that's not a part of their jurisdiction.
Yeah, which these aren't stories that are complete carbon copies of one another. So, we don't know how deep this goes and who all's involved in what angle of each part of the story. So could there potentially been some NCAA violations? Yeah, possibly, but I don't know that, and I don't know how well anybody really knows that just yet. But in terms of could they get in major trouble for the fact that these things were going on, I think it's, to the extent of maybe the way that Baylor was in trouble, which is some lost scholarships and things of that nature. But no, I don't think there's no death penalty coming. I feel very confident in saying that that's not a concern. And I don't think that they're going to shut down the death penalty or anything along the lines of shutting down athletics or, shuttering programs. That's not going to happen, but it all depends on the details. But based on the Baylor example, then they'll probably, have some minor things that occur.
It's also the Penn State example,
right,
which they
Penn
were
State.
sued, and a lot of that was taken out of the penalties and or the report against Penn State. When we come back, San